This idea that the No Kings protest is essentially useless because there's no definite next step is a terrible take, and honestly, it's extremely weird. This is one of those situations that makes it clear that y'all did not pay attention in history class, because historically, change has never been linear. For example, the civil rights movement. People were marching, people were boycotting, people were sitting in, people were gathering for years before any specific law was passed. Those gatherings built awareness. Those gatherings built community. Those gatherings built pressure. They forced the nation to look. They forced the media to report. Another historical example would have to be the women's suffrage movement. Women held parades, women held public demonstrations, women held rallies that lasted years before the 19th Amendment even passed. Women stood in the hot sun, they held their signs, they got arrested, all to change a culture that actively ignored them. The civil rights movement and the women's suffrage movement didn't look like an immediate win, but without it, absolutely nothing would have changed. Now, with all of that being said, the No Kings protest is far from perfect. Some parts do, in fact, feel performative, like food trucks on every corner while the city's homeless population is ignored. That's a valid critique, but critique shouldn't turn into cancellation, especially when the alternative is silence. If you're going to talk about people protesting, you should also ask yourself, well, what am I doing for my community? Are you supporting people in need? Are you donating your time and resources? Are you showing up in ways that actually help people beyond the internet? If the answer is no, then you cannot sit here and talk bad about people who are genuinely just trying to demand attention.
So I go through months or years trying to get help. My insurance company is willing to pay for me to go get treatment out of state. And every time I get a call, they tell me, sorry, we're no longer taking out of state Medicaid. And I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Because I literally can't, I have nowhere to go. There are no places for me to go. And then I asked her, okay, so what is it out of pocket? And she said, oh, we're not allowed to do out of pocket if you have an insurance. So you won't take my insurance, and then you won't take my fucking money if I'm gonna pay out of pocket. How does that make sense? I am so tired. I am so tired. I'm so tired of it. I don't understand how the system could be like this. I don't understand. Like, I'm literally crying on the phone, and the lady's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. You could call this person. And I was like, she was my doctor previously, and she couldn't help me. That was one of the reasons why I was referred to go to Jefferson in the first place. So now I don't know what I'm going to do.
Let me make something very clear. The reason a lot of people don't have empathy for the I Left MAGA crowd is because y'all are still trying to rewrite the story. And guess what? We're not buying it. You want people to believe you voted for cheaper groceries, better jobs, tax breaks. No, you didn't vote for policies. You voted for a feeling. And let me say the part people dance around. You weren't tricked. You agreed. You agreed with the tone. You agreed with the direction. You agreed until it started affecting you. And that's the part people don't want to say out loud, because now it's, he lied. We didn't know. We were misled. No, people told you over and over again what this was. Not quietly, not subtly, but out loud and in your face. And every time you dismissed it. Things like, he's not serious. He's just talking, or it won't actually happen. So let me give you another line you might not like. You didn't leave MAGA. MAGA stopped working for you. That's why this feels different now. Not because something new was revealed, but because now it's uncomfortable. Now it's hitting closer to home, and now you're feeling it. And suddenly, you want grace. You want understanding. You want people to separate you from it. But that's not how this works. You don't get to help build something, defend it, excuse it, normalize it, and then step away from it like it had nothing to do with you the second it stops benefiting you. That's not growth. That's convenience. Real growth sounds like, I saw it, I ignored it, but I chose it anyway. Until that level of honesty shows up, people are going to keep looking at you sideways.
So now many people in America are asking one surprising question. Why aren't black Americans joining the No King protest? At first, that might sound confusing. If inflation is rising, groceries are more expensive, and people are struggling, wouldn't everyone be protesting together? But according to the arguments presented in the video, the answer is much deeper than today's economy. So guys, let us continue watching the videos, then I'll be coming back with more reactions. Please remember to subscribe to the channel.
Also, I did not attend the No Kings rally. That's not a protest. I feel like y'all don't know what a protest is. And it's not like I want for every protest to be like an uprising, but like, what are we doing? Any protest that cooperates with police to block off certain roads is automatically not a protest. Bitch, that's a parade. But the thing that pissed me off about the No Kings protest, particularly in Philly, which was one of the largest, if not the largest, and we always are because it's fucking Philly. You guys are posers. You guys are... How the fuck are you going to go to a protest to protest the current administration not helping the needy, not caring about the needy, and then you walk past the fucking needy? So I didn't go to the protest. I was out there feeding the fucking homeless people that thousands of people just walked past. You just walked past them. I ran out of food. That's how many people were in need. I ran out of toothbrushes, toothpaste, mouthwash. I ran out of fucking everything. And to think, all of you people walked in and just walked past these people, the cognitive dissonance is insane. And this happened at the first No Kings rally. And I had to run back and do the exact same thing. Because how the fuck you gonna walk past the needy? You people don't actually give a shit. You guys don't care. You just wanted a day. These liberals and online leftists wanted a day to feel important and like they're doing their part. But let me tell you something. Putting a witty quip on a fucking piece of dollar store paperboard doesn't do shit. It doesn't do anything. Yes, it might have pissed off the president, but you left people on the street to starve. You're still doing his bidding. There were almost like over 100 people on the strip that you guys would have walked. And none of y'all, thousands of people, none of y'all were like, yo, this is an area where a lot of homeless people typically lay. We should probably bring some stuff for them. None of y'all. I was packing things from the car. I turned around and there were 60 people behind me. I'm going to get angry. I'm going to get angry and I'm going to get disrespectful. Like, where are the organizers? Have the organizers not... Did they not set anything up for the people that they were going to fucking be walking past? No food, no food banks, nothing. Oh, we don't give a shit. Oh, okay. Okay.
I think the saddest part about life under Mad King Trump is that it's not like we weren't warned. When the whole ICE situation blew up and we were watching these horrific scenes unfold every day, I thought, this is what the black community was trying to warn us about during the George Floyd protests. They had already seen firsthand the brutality, the excessive use of force, and the complete erosion of the Fourth Amendment, which paved the way for the blatant racial profiling we're seeing now. But we just didn't listen. And now we have militarized ICE agents everywhere, crawling our streets and even our airports. You know, our law enforcement was emboldened in the inner city during the war on drugs, and the black community tried to warn us. Millions of them tried to warn us. But we said, that's their problem. What's that got to do with us? Well, it's got everything to do with us now. Because the black community has always been the canary in the coal mine. The problem is, we just never seem to listen.
I have not seen one video of a black woman at the No Kings March. And I'm sure they're out there, but it was overwhelmingly white liberals. And I went back and forth with myself. I was like, should I protest? Should I not? But then I settled on, I'm tired. I don't know. As a black woman, I feel like I've been protesting since 2020. And we show up to the polls. 92%. We've done our part, and I feel like it is time to let other people do theirs. Don't mean that I don't care. Don't mean that these issues aren't important. But yeah, it's time to let this be a collective effort instead of all on us.
Hey, we live in central Illinois. Our electric rates just went up 50%. My nephew has a ranch home that's probably 1,200 square feet, and his bill went from $260 to $560 in the last month. No difference in usage. The company just increased their rates 50%. So I'm curious if you have a similar home in a surrounding state, what you pay.
Protest has a different meaning for white people than it does for black people. Let me put it this way. Black protest is a scream from the fire, and white protest is a complaint about the smoke.
This is what I mean when I say that white people don't know how to protest, because you guys have never actually had to fight for anything if it included another group. Because why, I don't understand. Since when did it become the standard? Since when did Zephyr shut the fuck? Since when did it become the standard that how successful a protest is determined by how many people show up? If 100,000 people show up but y'all don't do shit, you didn't fucking do anything. If 1,000 people show up and you just walk up a street and walk back, you didn't fucking do anything. If you're in a protest that is collaborating with the police department on a Saturday so no one has to miss work or no one has to block traffic, then that's not a fucking protest. That's a goddamn parade. Any peaceful protest that occurs, at the very least, there must be a level of networking between the people who attend. But I know y'all aren't talking to each other. The last 2 times I went to these protests, everyone was in their own groups. Y'all weren't even loud for real. Look at all these videos. People aren't even yelling. They aren't really saying anything. They're just walking with a fucking poster board that they took 20 minutes to make at home from the fucking dollar store. What is going on? You guys aren't fellowshipping. You guys aren't building coalition. You guys aren't doing anything. You're just walking up a street and walking back just to say that you were there. And then on top of that, if you look at their website of demands, all of it is centered around Donald Trump. Why is Donald Trump at the center of oppression? These things have existed. These systems have existed long before then. And that's why all of these protests are just a sea of white faces, because it's full of people who have never listened to minorities a day in their life other than to boost their own fucking ego and social credit. Full of people who only don't like Trump because he's overtly mean. That's why. They don't like his optics. That's it. If he was a lot more sly in his racism, sexism, and homophobia, they would have nothing to fucking say. But they do this to stand on a goddamn high horse, but they're still fundamentally useless. I'm saying this because the first 2 protests I attended, I was absolutely disgusted with the behavior of people, specifically in Philadelphia, which is one of the biggest places for protests to happen. There were people at this No Kings protest talking about how racist and classist and disgusting Donald Trump was. Thousands of people all saying the same thing, and I watched every single one of them walk past the entire block of homeless people. I actually saw someone in a fucking frog costume, and there was a homeless man sitting next to them, and I witnessed people take the pictures at an angle just so they wouldn't catch the guy in the photo. Just after the second protest, on the strip in Philadelphia, the city hall, that whole strip, I was cataloging how many people were there, and I bought as much food as possible. I bought hundreds of dollars worth of food. Let me tell you something. I ran out of food. There were children in the crowd of people who were looking for food. A literal fucking 4-year-old. And y'all walk past. You're crazy. Is that not just evil? Is that not just disgusting? The cognitive dissonance is so crazy to me. This whole better than nothing mentality is so infantile, because I know people are going to show up in my comments being like, well, what are you doing? Not being fucking useless and performative, that's for sure.
Sorry, but I don't think these No Kings protests are doing much of anything. Because it will literally be a protest that is happening over the weekend, and a bunch of people will show up for these No Kings protests, and they'll say there were record-breaking numbers of people that showed up in order to protest against the current system that we have running. But then, once the weekend is over, everyone will just go back to work and just go back to participating in this capitalistic system, and then commenting things like, but I still have to pay the bills, or do I still have to go to work? It's the thing is, that power is actually within the people. The people get to decide if we keep participating in this capitalistic system. And that actually is the issue. And I understand that there is, good intent behind the No Kings protest, but I just genuinely don't believe it's making as big of a shift as people think it would make. And they keep happening, but again, it's happening on the weekends, which is already feeling like it's participation with the system, because it's like that's when people are off of work. That's when people have the time to go ahead and do that. And then people having to get permits in order to protest. Like, it's all feeling like just more participation within the system. And like, the thing is, all of these people will go protest at the No King's Day protest, but then go back to work. And then say the same things about why do we have to keep participating in this capitalistic system, when it's like, that's actually our power. Our power is the fact that we can stop participating in this capitalistic system and make a change very quickly. And I understand that people have all these different ideas about, you know, people just quitting their jobs en masse, and like, we don't have unity in this country, whatever the case may be. Even if people are waiting for other people to start doing it, it's just like, that is the issue. That is the core issue. So I don't really know if these No King's Day protests are doing much of anything at all. I'm just being honest.
Because if you're not providing or replacing what the government is taking away, then you're not protesting, you're performing. A protest without demands is not a protest. It's a Saturday activity. It's a Saturday event. Those marches y'all see in y'all's history books of MLK marching, Coretta Scott King marching, those were directly tied to boycotts. It was 381 days of Black Americans destroying the bus system's revenue by walking miles to work every day. That's why it's called the Montgomery bus boycott. That's why they were marching. And the March on Washington wasn't just vibes and cute, clever signs. They had 10 specific demands that they submitted to Congress. Every march had a mechanism. It had a pressure point, an economic consequence, or a legislative demand attached to it. And as much as y'all don't like it, Black people in America have every right to be suspicious of camera-ready leadership. Because from a lot of our perspectives, it substitutes power building with performance. The real work is not glamorous, it's not showy, it's slow, but it's structural work. Are y'all out there connecting people to medical assistance, to food aid assistance, to rent help assistance? Mutual aid is the protest. Are you providing what the government is currently taking away from people? That is the protest. That's what the Black Panther Party did. They provided free breakfast, free clinics, sickle cell testing, while they were actively naming the systems that were causing the need for these things. A protest without follow-through infrastructure is a photo op in civic costume, and a protest without demands is a parade. What does a protest look like when it actually serves the people? For these No King marches, yes, the aesthetics are there. The optics look good on camera. We're seeing the numbers, and it's making people feel like you're not alone in this feeling. There's more of us than there are of them. I understand that part. But what happens on Monday morning when somebody's SNAP food benefits get cut? What happens when they lose their Medicare? Who's handing these people numbers to where they can get food assistance, rental assistance, medical care, dental care, connecting them to lawyers even? For a lot of Black Americans, we are worried that these No King protests, while they look good for the cameras and for the news reports and all of that, and for morale, what we are concerned with is that this is simply just scratching the itch of the white savior complex that a lot of white liberals seem to have. It's allowing y'all to show up on your day off to scratch your moral itch just enough that you feel absolved. And then going and voting for the same centrist policies that gut the very programs people are losing. Who is taking the demands and meeting with the president, the vice president?
Okay guys, welcome back. The video reminds viewers that Black Americans have spent decades speaking about police brutality, discrimination, unequal treatment, and broken systems. Those warnings were often dismissed by politicians, media, and many ordinary Americans. So today, when more people feel the pressure of the same system, many Black Americans are saying, "We've been telling you this all along." That's a powerful statement. Some people only believe a problem is real when it reaches their own front door. Now, here's where the discussion becomes even more controversial. The video argues that the No King protests are not creating real change. Instead of building long-term organization, supporting local communities, or creating clear political goals, The protests are described as emotional public events that make people feel involved without actually changing the system. Wow, what a serious criticism! Because think about it. Is a protest successful simple because thousands of people show up, or is a successful only if it produces real political results? That is a question every movement has to answer. The video also challenges the idea that everyone experiences economic hardship in the same way. For years, many Americans supported policies that reduced public programs, weakened worker protections, and favored wealthy corporations. According to the viewpoint presented, some people believed these policies would mainly hurt poor communities and minorities. But now, that rising price, job insecurity, and higher living costs are affecting more white Americans too. There's suddenly a stronger demand for unity, and the response for many black Americans is basically this: where was that unity before? That line really makes you stop and think. History has a long memory. People don't easily forget being ignored when they were asking for justice. One thing I find interesting is that this conversation isn't only about race, it's also about trust. Trust is difficult to rebuild once it's broken. If communities feel they were abandoned for years, simply asking them to join a protest today may not be enough. People often want to see genuine partnership, not temporary cooperations during a crisis. This video also talks about community resilience. Instead of focusing on national protest movements, many black Americans are choosing to invest their energy into helping their own communities through local support, mutual aid, and strengthening family and neighborhood networks. That's an approach some people believe creates long lasting change than large public demonstrations. Others may disagree completely. Some believe broad coalitions and mass protests are still necessary to create national political pressure. And that's what makes these conversations so complicated. There isn't one simple answer. Here's something we should all remember. Economic hardship affects people from many different backgrounds, but people's willingness to work together often demands on whether they believe that solidarity has been mutual over time, or not just circumstances become difficult. Whether someone agrees with the video and also the viewpoint or not, it raises important questions about accountability, history, trust, and what meaningful political action actually look like. At the end of the day, this debate isn't just about one protest. It's about whether people can build lasting alliances after years of disagreement and unequal experiences. What do you think? Do protests still create meaningful change in today's world, or does real change begin by strengthening local communities before taking to the streets? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep the discussion respectful because conversations like this deserve a careful listening from every side. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to the channel.